Today I'm going to take a modern PC case and see if you can pack it with junk. That's right, old school junk. A little bit of a science experiment. So take a modern case plus add in a whole bunch of junk. Specifically I'm going to try and cram in 25 pieces and then I'm going to see what happens. Yeah, you guys really came here to see a fire. Well, let's see if that actually happens or not. So before we get started on this BODGE job PC build, what I need to do first is I need to repair this PC. I bought this for about £100 on Facebook Marketplace and I need to try and fix it because it wasn't posting. And yeah, there's literally nothing in here. We've got a CPU, motherboard, power supply, hard drive, some RAM sticks, maybe a Wi-Fi card, and that's it. That's your lot. And that power supply looks a little bit ropey. I don't know if it's any good or not. Maybe you can tell me in the comments below. But yeah, I'm not happy with that power connector or how this whole thing looks, although this is a junk build. So let's see what happens when we try and turn on this Stormforce PC and we'll see what the specs are and what the actual problems are. So that's good, we actually get into the BIOS screen at least, and let's see what happens after that, if it actually posts or not. And yes, we get in a post, but of course I've seen this problem before. Even if you go to the troubleshoot and you try and reset Windows, it crashes and doesn't happen. So I think the best thing for me to do is to detach that old school mechanical hard drive and just put in my SSD stick to see if it will boot to Windows. Now I've got my Western Digital 120GB stick installed. Let's see if we actually get a post or not. And as you can see, it's posted fine and it's loaded up to Windows, no problems at all. So 5-minute fix, and I detached the old mechanical hard drive so that doesn't create any corruption issues. So let's do a bit of benchmarking before we start modifying this PC. I'm running Hogwarts Legacy on low settings at 1080p. I looked at the specifications for this PC and it's actually a Ryzen 3 2200G and running at 8GB of RAM. The RAM is fairly slow, and as you can see, the game is not performing well at all. It is choppy, freezing. It's not a great experience, but hey, it's a brand new game that released in 2023 and it's running it right. So could you play Hogwarts Legacy? I suppose you can, but yeah, just be very patient with the choppy frame times and stuff. The other thing that I thought was particularly amusing is the sky disappears and then it magically reappears. So I think this setup definitely does bring the magic into Hogwarts. So now it's time to maybe try out an older title, and this is running Tomb Raider at 720p on medium settings, and I'm getting around about 28 to 30 FPS. So yeah, not great, and it's not really a playable experience with using onboard iGPU. So continuing on with the theme with setting low expectations, I ran CPU benchmark and I got 0% across the board. So unbelievable. I mean, we're setting a really low bar in terms of upgrading this PC, so that's great for me. Let's have a look at 3D Mark and see what performance we get there. Now, I couldn't run the standard version of 3D Mark, it just wouldn't let me. So I reduced the settings and you can have a look at that in a minute. But yeah, this is choppy as anything. I've never seen anything this bad. But at least you can see everything frame by frame. I guess that's a positive. Now you can see here I use custom settings. So yeah, graphics score 2258 and 699. So nothing to write home about. And let's see if we can improve on that later on when we do our upgrades. So my first job in upgrading this PC is of course removing the front panel. You want to do this as carefully as you can, just like this. So this is a pile of junk that I plan to use, and let's see how much of this stuff we can cram into this PC. And believe me, you want to stay to the end of the video because it gets really crazy. The one rule that I have is every part needs to be worth less than $20. So let's see how far I can get. So first thing I notice is a power supply. It doesn't give me enough power connectors that I need, so I'm going to be upgrading it with a CRT 500 watt power supply, which gives me much more connectors, and replacing this piece of junk. That power supply is probably worth less than $5, I reckon. Now it was time to replace that peasant style hard drive caddy, so I'm going to get that removed as well as the hard drive, and I'm going to put in a bit of an upgrade. So I had to turn the PC onto the side and undo the 4 screws on the bottom to remove the caddy, and after I did that I could then remove the whole assembly from the case. So I decided to upgrade this with a hot swappable drive bay. It includes 3 bays, active cooling, and it was a great upgrade. I only installed 1 hard drive into this, and it was a bit of a challenge to figure out exactly where I'm going to place this. So the only option I had was to attach it onto the front with a couple of screws, and it fit in there fine. So what upgrade will be complete without a DVD drive? So I decided to put this in, and I butted it up against the hot swappable drive bay so they can have some vibration action. Now it's time for some big boy upgrades. I'm moving on to GPU, and here I'm going to be using a GT570, 1GB of DDR3 RAM on this graphics card. So yeah, it should be, I don't know if it's going to be better than a 2200G, we'd have to wait and see. But what I wanted to do was make sure I gave this graphic card a bit of a fair chance, so I applied some fresh thermal paste onto the heatsink, and hopefully it should give it a bit of a fighting chance to do better. So once I put this in, actually, I found out the card was dead, so I had a bit of an issue with that, and I had to decide to use something else. So I moved over to AMD, an R7 240 running 2GB of RAM, so double the performance. Yeah, it should be good, right? Hopefully. Anyway, I'll be sticking this in, and when I did, I found out it did post, so lucky for me. So yeah, this build is starting to get a bit crazier now. It's time for fan upgrade. So I had to get rid of these really nice modern fans. It's got a nice rubber mounting mechanism on there, which is fairly standard for newer fans, but it was unheard of for older ones. So I need to take these fans out and put crappier ones in. So what did I decide to do? Well, the first fan that I decided to fit was a bit of a special one. This is a beast of a CPU cooler. Yeah, I know what you're thinking. It's, what are you doing? And I was probably thinking the same to myself, but it provides cooling, right? And it's cooling directly onto the hard drive caddy and the CD drive, so not much cooling there, and it was alright to fit. So yeah, I mean, I was playing around with the screws for ages just trying to get this thing in, and I was also going to add in a standard fan above it. So I think that's probably taking close cooling in a literal sense. I needed to change this back fan as well, or the exhaust fan, and I wanted to fit one with some blue LEDs to give it that nice 90s vibe, and look at that, it looks absolutely amazing. So now I had a couple of problems. The cable from the exhaust fan didn't quite reach the motherboard, and also I only had 1 fan splitter available. So I needed to include 2 new fan splitters which I connected together, and that would connect to the exhaust fan on the back and the 2 fans on the front. Is it a fire hazard? Very well made, possibly. So you may be getting your fire at the end of this video. It'll be interesting to see what happens. Now, this build is getting really crazy. I wanted to add in a floppy drive. Of course, you can't just add it in, so I had to use an adapter to make that happen. And I just screwed it in next to the CD drive and the hard drive, blocking even more airflow into this case. So, yeah, I think that went in pretty well. At this point, I've got enough leeches sponging off this motherboard, and I was really running out of things that I could attach to this PC. But I found that there was a USB port available, so I connected a USB header to that, and it went to 2 USB ports. So yeah, another port taken up. Next up was a light bar, upgrade 13. So yeah, I had to solder on a Molex connector onto this, and it went in pretty easy. So I needed to make use of those USB ports inside the PC, so I found this PS1 controller adapter, and luckily enough it was USB powered. And of course that also includes installing a PS1 controller, and that would all be attached inside the PC. The other thing I wanted to add in was this USB hub. I still had the PCIe slot available, so why not? I thought I'll just add that in. And then I wanted to also add in a light gun, so that was connected to the other USB port that was still available. So this thing is looking pretty nuts if you ask me. And yeah, I don't know if that light gun's actually going to work or not. We'd have to wait and see. Right, so I think it's time to turn this baby on. So yeah, place your bets. Do you think this thing is going to blow up and explode in a ball of flames, or do you think it would actually do okay? Let's find out. So yeah, well, here goes nothing. We've got beeps, and we've got a lot of 90s spec blue lights coming on there. So yeah, that's a positive sign. And we've got a post. So no issues there whatsoever. Yeah, that's very positive indeed. And actually, you know what? It actually looks pretty decent. I mean, the blue lighting in here actually, you know, looks pretty good. I'm pretty happy with that. The fans on the front are spinning, so yeah, it's a bit insane. Right, let's try the CD drive. Look at that. That's brilliant. Yeah, it's opened up, and yeah, we have a boot. So very positive indeed. There we go. Into Windows. It is very loud. I mean, it is squealing like anything. It's hard to describe. I mean, I don't exactly know how to describe that squealing sound. It's just insane, and I reckon if I put the glass panel on, it's going to be even worse. And look at that, I have no idea what those three things are, so I'm going to have to try and find some drivers for that. So my target was actually getting 25 old school components together with this PC, and I'm up to 17 at the moment. And yeah, I just really don't know what else I can put in here. I've really tricked everything out. Every slot and hub and everything is taken up with something. So I'm stuck. I think I may have failed the challenge completely. So then I had a thought. I mean, peripherals count, didn't they? I mean, I've already used a light gun and a controller. Yes, okay, the light gun isn't quite working, and I will try and get that to work. But I suppose I could still use an old school keyboard and mouse. So that brings me to 18, 19. And I'm going to need to find some extra components. So I'm going to have to really pull something out the bag to get this to 25. And yeah, let's see what I can come up with. Next obvious thing is you're going to need a display, right? So yeah, upgrade 21, I'm definitely getting there. And what else can I add to this PC? Well, of course, it's audio. How are you going to annoy your neighbours with your favourite Spice Girls track if you don't have a subwoofer and tweeters? This also comes with sound control. So yeah, I wanted to kind of wire this into the PC itself. So yeah, I'll put the sound control on the front and use some cable ties to wire it throughout the computer. And I just placed the speakers on top. I know it's not the ideal location, but I think it still works. I think the audio actually sounds pretty decent on this computer, even though those speakers are horrendously old. And I managed to fit the volume control on the front of the PC. However, I am on item 24 and I am running out of things to upgrade. So I don't know, have I failed? And this is a really funky volume control. I really like the way you can just twist this, and yeah, it's pretty handy. It's a bit crackly, a little bit crackly, but yeah, it's really handy to have volume control like that. Ow! Oh, son of a. And just like that, upgrade 25 fan cover. So yeah, I did it finally. I got up to 25 upgrades, and that was really hard. I was just running out of so many things that I could do to upgrade this PC, and I think it looks great, you know. Yeah, I don't know if it will perform very well, but it looks amazing. So let's get on to some benchmarks and see if I made it any better or I made it worse. Oh my god, so 7 FPS on Tomb Raider. Exact same settings as before, and much worse, which is not good at all. So let's have a look at CPU user benchmark and see what we get there. So again, 0% across the board, no improvement whatsoever. I think looking at the information down below, I may need to do some adjustments with the CPU and the RAM sticks. Maybe, I don't know if they're compatible with XMP profile or not. I need to have a look. But yeah, they're performing a lot worse. So I don't think there's any point in me carrying on with 3D Mark and Hogwarts Legacy, because I just don't think they're going to work. So should you do this build? Absolutely not. It's probably a complete waste of time, but it was fun to do. So let me know in the comments below, should I do something different, or you know, what should I have added into this computer? The next thing that I want to know is should I keep this computer together, and what I can do for you in the next video, what kind of tests I could do. And then finally, what I want to ask is hit me up on a DM if you wanted to send me your crap. Add in a description in the top left of the package and send it to me, and I will do a special build for you guys where I would be using your components to do a box build. So I hope you liked the video, and I'll see you in the next one.